And this is last year's budget. Just to be really, really clear to people, it gets confusing. This is the budget that went from April 1st of 2014 to March 31st of this year. So this is the old budget. We finally get the new numbers now before the end of June. They're supposed to give us the numbers for last year, and it came down to $1 billion surplus. It was roughly about half that in the projection last year, so they got $1 billion, plus there's $8.2 billion in the contingency account, which is our rainy day cash account. Tons of money. And this was left to us by the PC, the old PC government. So the NDP new government, as Miriam said, had nothing to do with this, so they didn't want to really talk about it. They said, look, that was theirs, we're going to move ahead. But I think that the main problem is the optics. Politically, you're going to have now moving forward the PCs saying, you know, the NDP, we gave them $1 billion surplus our last budget. It was balanced. And their first budget's got a huge hole in it. It's a gigantic deficit. What they're going to forget to tell us is that in the budget that Prentice brought down, that was never passed this March, he had a $5 billion deficit.
The biggest in history.
Going forward. So this year, 2015-16, it's going to have a deficit. We know that. The NDP said that. The PC even wrote it down, and their budget never actually passed. The Wild Rose admitted to be a big deficit going forward this year. But politically, it's going to be the PC saying, we had a surplus, you guys have a deficit, and that's going to be an issue for the NDP moving forward because people have short memories.
I think on this one it would have been, even if Prentice had won the election, he'd have trouble dealing with this one. He was selling Mr. Doom and Gloom for months before the election, and that's why he was going to do this generational change and shift the tax thing. So even if he was there, he would have a hard time explaining this to people who thought, oh my God, we have a $7 billion hole, we're really in trouble. Well, we weren't actually in trouble yet, and we will be going forward apparently. But I think it's really it's going to be curious to see how the Tories do play it in their opposition role, because the doom and gloom message started with Prentice, and he really played that strongly in his cards in the election campaign. So it's not quite so easy just to say, well, that was then, this is now. They do have that legacy to deal with.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying
the optics of this are hard for
anybody
in there, because